Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how I created this flyer for a client that reached out to me. It's basically a marketing flyer for a community where second-hand items, or fairly used items rather, are sold, primarily to students, right? So he wanted to advertise his community, and he reached out to me to design a couple of flyers. So I'm going to be creating this one together with you guys right here in this tutorial video, and of course all the assets I used to design it are going to be linked in the description box so that you can download them and design along with me. Alright, now without talking too much, let's get right into the video. So the first thing I'm going to do is you're going to create a new file, and we're going to use 1080 by 1350. Right, so our width is 1080, our height is 1350. I'm going to unclick this artboard because I don't need it to be an artboard. I'm going to leave my resolution at 72. Color mode RGB. Background, let's make it transparent, and we'll just leave everything else the way it is, and we'll click on create. Okay, so actually I'm going to delete this. I'm going to go back. I'll create a new file. The reason is I actually want artboards, right? I want artboards so I can place my color palettes at the top. So I'll click on these artboards, and you know what, let's just change this transparent to white, and I'll click on create. Alright, so we have this. So these are all the assets. So like I said, if you check the description box, you'll see that I've linked everything for you, even the font. I usually don't even drop the fonts because I don't really have the time, but this time around I took the time to find the fonts for you guys. So the fonts we're going to be using is called Railway. Okay, so you can download the font. So I'm just going to drag in the color palettes. This is it. Right, I'll just place it at the top here. So that color palette is going to guide us throughout this design. Sorry about that. Alright, so the first thing is I'm going to create the background, right? So I'm going to create a solid color adjustments layer. Should I create a solid color adjustment layer? I know, I'm going to create a new layer. Alright, I'll drag that layer into the artboard. Now I'll select that layer and I'll press Ctrl Backspace. Ctrl Backspace is going to fill the layer with the background color. If you press Alt Backspace, it's going to fill it with the foreground color, right? So anyone works for us, basically. Ctrl Backspace. Now that we have that, I'm going to click here and I'll click on, I'm actually going to, alright, so instead of that, I'll actually select my rectangle tool and I'll create a rectangle that's going to be the span of the entire workspace, the entire canvas. Right, I'll just make it blue so that we can see what we are doing. I'll remove the stroke, right? So I'm going to delete that initial layer that I created. Now the reason I'm creating this rectangle is because I want to add a gradient to it. Now you might be wondering that why didn't I just come here and click on gradients and just add a gradient? The reason is because usually when you create an artboard, when you have multiple artboards and you create a gradient, it's not going to really give you what you want sometimes, especially when you have multiple artboards. Even though we have only one artboard here, I don't really want to risk it, so I'm just going to create a rectangle, and then I'll come here to fill, and then I'll click on here to create a gradient. Now for this gradient, we're going to use black and another color that is not black. So the color that is not black is this one here that is in our color palette, which is kind of like ash. So I'll select that color, and then we'll change the gradient from linear to radial, and then we'll reverse the gradients, right? And then I'll increase the scale. I'll reduce it like this. Let's try 150 or 160. 160 is still too. Sorry. Let's go back. Okay, this is 150. I don't think it's good enough. Alright, I don't think it's good enough, so we'll still go back. We will still go back and we'll increase it. Okay, I think I'll leave it at 275. I'll just leave it at 275, right? So next thing I'll do is I'll select that and I'll come on and I'll add plus, or rather I'll delete it. I'll press Ctrl Shift N, and this dialog box is going to be created. So I am going to select, I'll change this normal to either overlay or soft light, and I'll click on this tick and it's going to create a new layer, and I'll right click on that layer and I'll convert it to a smart object, and I'll go to filter, and then I'll go to noise, and I'll go to add noise, and I'll make the noise 12. I'll click on OK, right? So as simple as that, we've gotten our background. So I'll select those two layers, I'll press Ctrl G, and I'll name it BG, which is background. Next thing I'm going to do is I'll bring in our logo. I'll drag it, I'll drop it here, I'll take it to the top. You can see that it's in the center already, so I'll just reduce the size, right, and I'll place it right there. Then next thing is to write our headline. So I'll select the text tool, I'll just click and I'll go here, and this is all the text we're going to be using for this design, and of course it's going to be added to the assets in the description box, so do well to download it and design along with me. So I'm just going to paste it. Alright, after pasting it, I'll change the color, change everything to white so we can see what we are doing. And of course our font is Railway, so I'm going to use Railway. Okay, I think black is too much, let's try bold. Okay, we'll use Railway bold. So let's reduce the font size to something like 72. Right, we'll centralize it. Now we're going to select this bottom part of the text, and we'll change it from white to this orange color here on our color palette to create some sort of contrast. Then I'll reduce the line spacing. Right, so line spacing is pretty okay, and yeah, that is our headline. I'm just going to move it up a little bit more. Alright, so we have our headline. I'll select the text again. This time I'm going to draw a text box. So to do that, just right click and drag. Right, by the way, if you have any questions or anything you're confused about, simply drop your questions in the comment section and I'll be happy to answer them as soon as possible. Alright, so I'm going to paste our body text, and I'll change it from bold to regular. I'll change the color to white, and I'll reduce the font size to, let's try 30. I'll put the line spacing on auto, then I'll make it centralized here. Alright, then I'm now going to close up the text box like this, and I'll click on OK, and I'll centralize everything, and I'll move it up. I'll press Ctrl T and I'll increase the size like this just a little bit. I'll press enter. Then let's zoom in. This Unimat, now I'm going to select just this Unimat, and what am I going to do? I'll change the color to orange, this orange here, and I'll change it from regular to let's try bold. Yeah, so you can see we've drawn attention, we've created emphasis on that Unimat. Okay, so just like that we have our texts and our subtext, right? So the next thing I am going to do is to write out what items that we have to for sale. So I'm just going to create this rectangle, and I'll change it to a solid color, which is white. Right, and I'll increase the edges, the radius at the edges. Right, then I'll select my text tool, and I'm going to go and copy the headline, like the sub headline, which is items you can buy. Items you can buy. I'll copy it, I'll paste, and I'll move it on top of this. I'll change it from bold to semi bold. I'll leave it as semi bold, and I'll come here and click on this T. This T has a dash under. I'll click on it, and it's going to create a line. It's going to underline it, right? And I'll duplicate that. I'll remove the T, that underline. I'll change it from semi bold to regular. Then I'll go and I'll copy all these items. I'll copy all these items. I'll press Ctrl C, and I'll click on this, and I'll press Ctrl V to paste it, and I'll make sure that it's select aligned to the left. Right, make sure it's aligned to the left. Then I'll reduce the size. I'll put it on, let's try 30. I'm going to zoom in 30. I think 30 will work. Now I want to align these two of them together, so I'll select both of them, both layers, and I'll come to the top and click on this, so they are now aligned together. And I'll just move them like this. Alright, for this rectangle, I'm going to click on it, select the layer, and I'm going to adjust it, alright, so that it will be long enough. I'm also going to reduce the radius by clicking on any of the anchor points and dragging it. Alright, so the next thing I'll do is I'll bring in the bullet points, which is this verified tick. I'll drag it and drop it. Then I'll create a solid color adjustment layer. I'll change it to this orange color that we have here. I'll click on OK. I'll press Ctrl T. Press Ctrl T, and then I'll reduce the size. Then we're going to zoom in and try and position it properly. Okay, I think I'll reduce the size even further. And yeah, that's pretty okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to hold Alt and Shift, and we're going to drag it to duplicate. We'll drag again to duplicate, drag again. Make sure that your Alt and Shift is being held at the same time. Alright, so just like that, we have our bullet points. You can select all of them, press Ctrl G to group it, and call it you can call it bullet points or icons or whatever you want. So I'm just going to move it up a bit. Yeah, I'll leave it like that. Now these items for sale, we want it to align here, so we'll just push it in like this. Right, so you can see what we have. You can basically see what we have. So I'm going to select all 4 of them. I'll press Ctrl G. So if I hide, you see everything's hiding. I'll name it items. Alright, so these are the items. Now actually this TV, everything inside, I'm going to shift it a bit to the right a bit, and I'll press Ctrl T. Then I'll select the entire item, press Ctrl T, and we're going to reduce it a little bit. Press enter. Alright, so the flyer is coming along pretty okay. The next step now is to bring in our image, right? this is the image we are using. I'll just bring it in, I'll press OK. Then now I have removed the background. I have another version where I've removed the background. I'll also drag it in, I'll press OK. Then I'll centralize it, and this, I'll centralize the two of them. And why am I doing that? Because I want them to be aligned, let them be on top of each other, right? So they are on top of each other perfectly. So now once that is done, I'm going to hide the one on top, the one that I've removed the background. I'm going to hide that one. In fact, I'm going to hide the two of them. I'll select my ellipse tool, which is under the rectangle tool. I'll select it, and I'll draw an ellipse like this. Alright, so I'll draw an ellipse like this. I'll press Ctrl T, and I'll reduce the size. Right, we'll just adjust it like this. So we have this ellipse. You know what, let me hide these items. So we have this ellipse here, right? I have this ellipse here. So now I'll unhide this, and what I'll do, I'll clip it to the ellipse, right? I'll also unhide the original one. Let me unclip it. So select the two of them, the one you remove the background, which is at the top, and then the original one. Press Ctrl T, and then adjust it. Hold your Alt and then adjust it until you feel that it can fit into the ellipse. Then select only that one and clip it into it. Now if it's not perfect, you can still select the two of them, press Ctrl T, and continue to reduce the size like this. Can you see what we have? You can always adjust it, move it anyhow you want. The goal is to just make it, yeah, you can see what we have. Alright, so the idea is, if I hide this one that remove the background, you can see that the one that has that background is clipped inside the ellipse. Then the one that does not have background is now on top of it to create that effect like it is coming out of the ellipse, right? I hope it makes sense to you. So the next thing we're going to do after doing that is, you're going to come under the ellipse, select this time around your rectangle tool, then you create a rectangle shape, right? And let it begin and end where the ellipse begins and end. Then take the top up until it touches the ellipse. Can you see that? Then you're going to double click on it, and you make sure that the color is this ash color here on your color palette. Then click on OK. So you can see it has kind of created like a kind of pavement. Alright, so select everything from the two images, the one that you remove the background and the original one, to the ellipse and to the rectangle. Press Ctrl G, and then call it subject. Alright, subject. Once you've grouped it, press Ctrl T, and we are going to rotate it like this. Press enter. Now unhide the items. Right, that items, now I'm going to move it up a bit. I'm actually going to increase the size back. Increase the size back. Then now select your subjects, press Ctrl T, and we're going to increase the size like this. Alright, so you can see how I created that effect. Right, you can see how I created that effect. Okay, so these three things, the logo, the headline, and the subtext, I'm going to group them. I'll call them top. Right, I just like my layers to be arranged, right? So if I hide that top, you can see what is hiding. If I hide the subject, you can see what is hiding. If I hide items, you can see what is hiding. And if I hide background, you can see what is hiding, right? So the next thing I'm going to do is to write our call to action, right? So we have two call to actions. We have either they use the QR code or they use the phone number. So we'll start with the phone number. Right, so I write, for more enquiries, contact I'll change the size to, let's say, 24. I'll duplicate it and I'll go and copy the phone number, the two phone numbers. I'll double click on it and then I'll paste it, and I'll change it from regular to bold, and then I'll increase the size to 48 is too much. Try 36. Okay, 36 is okay. I reduce the line spacing to 36 as well. Alright, then I'll just place it here like this. So that's our phone number. Then the second call to action is our QR code. Right, so this is the QR code here. I'm just going to drag it and I'll drop it. Look at where I'm dropping it. The reason I'll drop it here is so that it will open in a new window. You can see that it has opened in a completely separate window. The reason I'm doing this, I want to just cut out this QR code. So to achieve that, I'll select my rectangular marquee tool and I'll just left click and drag like this, and I'll make sure I'm holding shift so that it will give me a perfect rectangle. Once that has been created, I can now move my rectangle tool around. I'll leave it like this, then I'll press Ctrl G. Pressing Ctrl G has now duplicated that QR code. Then I'll right click on it and I'll convert it to a smart object. Then I'll now drag it into this second workspace and then I'll drop it like this. Alright, so that is our QR code. So I'll press Ctrl T and I'll just reduce the size. Alright, I'll place it somewhere here. Okay, under the QR code, I'll select my rectangle tool and I'll create a rectangle like this. And I'll change the color of the rectangle to the orange that we've been using. And I'll select my text tool. Let me go and copy. I'll copy the text. So the text is scan to access the Uni Marketplace. So like I said, there are two calls to action. Either you message the WhatsApp number or you scan the QR code. Alright, so I'll reduce the size to something like 18, reduce line spacing to 18, and I'll drag the text. Select my move tool, drag the text on top of that. So I'll change it from bold to regular. Alright, press Ctrl T to still reduce the size a little bit more. Press enter. Right, so that is basically the flyer. So the last thing, as usual, so I'm just going to select all four, not all four, I'll select the phone number, I'll group it and I'll call it contact, and I'll select the rectangle and the QR code, I'll group it, I'll call it QR code. Alright, so everything is grouped properly. I'll come to the top layer, I'll press Ctrl Shift Alt E to create a snapshot of all the layers. Right click on it and convert it to a smart object. Then go to filter, go to camera raw filter. In camera raw filter, like I always say, there's no there's no particular formula, so you can just move the sliders around until you see what you want. So I'll increase the contrast and exposure a bit and increase highlights. Alright, I'll go to color, increase, I'm not going to touch temperature. I say increase saturation a bit. I won't touch these curves. Increase the texture, increase grain, reduce the vignette. Right, I'll go to details, increase sharpening, and I'll click on OK. And that brings us to the end of this tutorial. I hope you learned something new. I hope you learned some new technique or some new something new, just basically, right? And if you did, kindly let me know in the description, in the comment section, and I'll be happy to see your comments. And of course, don't forget to like this video, share it to a designer I think we need it, and of course subscribe to this channel because more videos will be dropped just like this, right? I'll catch you in the next video. See you later.